Welcome back, everyone, to a brand new episode of the Top 10 Rules of Success. Today, we'll learn from Brendon Burchard on how to command our vision, set big, achievable goals, and take control of our success. Enjoy.
Every morning, you got to get up, you got to pick up that spear of purpose, you got to cast it as far as you can see it today. Throw that spear of purpose as far as you can today, as far as you can. And then your day is to go march towards that spear with so much commitment, so much discipline, so much resilience that then you get that spear, you get to throw it out as far as you can again. That is having the vision, and that is having the discipline to go get it. The interesting thing is you have to take that outside of your head. You probably have a clearer vision for what's important to you than your wife does, than your partner does, than your friends do, than your family does. And so a huge part of the vision principle is you've got to communicate it more. You got to help everybody see what that vision ends up being, where they participated or they didn't, depending on your timing. And now it's like, oh, this is the thing we're rallying around. This is the spear. I'm going to throw it. We're going to go together. Okay, great. Let's go. And that command of the vision is what I mean by the vision decision. It doesn't mean other people didn't participate in it, but you own it. You own it. The big part about it is your life's decisions, whether you are conscious or unconscious throughout your life, your life's decisions were leading to a vision. And today's a good opportunity to say, is this the vision? Is this what I wanted? Or did I not know what I wanted? Did I just go along the ride with everybody else and do what everyone else told me my whole life? Or did I architect this? Was I thoughtful about what the decision was, what I was after? Today's a good day to look at the vision you have for your life and ask, does it match what your reality is today?
Rule number 2, be enthusiastic.
I think enthusiasm is the master of all emotion, right? Even more than love. You're like, you're crazy. I'm like, no. I know lots of people who have love, but there's no enthusiasm in the relationship anymore. There's no intimacy, no pop, no vibrancy, no variety. It's like they care for each other, but there's no energy behind it. I think the energy behind things is enthusiasm. When we're excited about building our life together, or listen, when we're excited about solving this problem together. I remember the first, I was doing a divorce referred mediation. I was in grad school, and I knew this couple was going to survive. It was 5 minutes into this thing because they were just we were so excited to solve this thing together. And I was like, you're gonna be great. I immediately knew. And it was so easy. It was not easy. It was so well resolved because there was enthusiasm. Even if we don't agree, enthusiasm for the solution, enthusiasm to move out of this crappy time. I love when people do coaching or counseling, and I've talked to therapists who go, oh my gosh, they were so happy to finally share their hatred for each other. They were so enthusiastic to get it out and to talk about it and to start working on it. The enthusiasm to work on it, the enthusiasm to improve it, the enthusiasm to build that future together, the enthusiasm to resolve it, that is such an indicator of things. So how do you feel? Are you enthusiastic to improve that relationship, to grow it? Are you enthusiastic to go deeper, enthusiastic to do the things for your other who just loves it? Are you enthusiastic about them and their life? So important.
Rule number 3, put out positivity.
You have to learn to role model positivity and good values, right? It's super hard to attack me online at this point because for a decade and over 300 episodes of a podcast and over 200 episodes of my YouTube videos and 6 best-selling books and literally being on stage in front of millions of people and graduating millions of people from our online courses, the effort of all that, the messaging is so clear. right? I'm the guy that tells you to be more intentional. I'm the guy that tells you to be a role model. I'm the guy that tells you be excellent at what you do so you can be of greater service to the world. And the more I talk about living fully and loving openly and making more of a difference, of stepping into that role model mindset, of honoring the struggles of life, in being authentically you, the message ends up standing for itself. You know, they could attack you in a video, or they might not like my shirt in this video, or might think it's stupid I took a picture of, you know, the cat, or, you know, they judge me or my clothes or my wife or something that they see. But the totality of what you have done, no one gets to take away from that. They just don't, even if they attack it, because here's what happens. Remember, as you build that big tribe, you've imbued good values into the marketplace, your tribe starts fighting for you. Your tribe starts canceling the haters. Your tribe starts fighting back for you, explaining for you. Your tribe starts getting your back because they're like, wait, why are you judging this guy? He's put out a decade of free content. Why are you judging this person? They've done all of these good works. And your community, your tribe ends up getting your back when you have imbued that tribe with good values and honestly demonstrated, but also commanded, demanded, begged, pleaded, cajoled for people to be positive forces in the world. You know, at base of all of my messaging has always been that did I matter message. That message about servant leadership, that message about get so good at what you do so you can be of greater service to the world. Like, how do the haters come at me when my message is about contribution? And that's what you want to think about, is that as you role model positivity, contribution, good values in the world, your tribe stands up for you, but you also stand up for yourself more. Because you know true, down deep in your heart, you're doing good work. Like, no one can make me question my work. I'm going to do this. I tell my team all the time, I'm going to do this till I'm 100 years old. Like, I'm always going to be that guy putting out personal development and psychology work. I love that field. It's what I care deeply about, and it's what I've stood for a decade. And no one gets to take that away from me. No one gets to take it away from you. So please don't let a hater ever slow you down. I hope that supports you, and I hope you always believe in your message. You have a voice, you have great art and contributions to give to the world. Do not slow down.
Rule number 4, give attention.
When's the last time you tried to make the person you're talking with feel like the only person in the world? You know, we do that when we're dating. We're out on a new date with somebody. Man, we just want to shine them with all that attention. But over a period of time, it's like, honey, get me a beer. Or, you know, people just stop paying attention. They don't even see the people they're talking with. They never look in the eye and actually connect anymore. They don't try to make that person unique and amazing. And so what happens? The vibe between the two people is lost. So, have you been doing a good job in that department, making the person in front of you the only person in the world? You want to have a better relationship with your kids, or your spouse, or your team, or the new people you meet at networking functions. I mean, it doesn't matter. When you meet a person, if you just shine your full attention on them, they're gonna be like, that person has such good energy. I don't even know why. It's because you're giving them attention.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there. Rule number 5, set goals.
When building a team, what are the strategies for influencing them to work towards a common vision? Number 1, if you are just establishing the team, remember, people support what they create, so get their ideation involved in that. But 2, make sure that team on a weekly or monthly basis is revisiting that vision and talking about, have them like facilitate a process where they talk about how their contributions or what they created serve that vision, serve that mission. So that can be as simple as, hey, share with me what you did this last month, but make sure you talk about how does that help, like in our company, our mission is to change lives. So it's like, okay, how did what you do translate into changing lives? Talk about that. and just get people talking about it way more often, man. Like that's a big piece about it, is that most people are doing like status updates, but they're not talking about how their work directly touches the vision. And if you can get them seeing that and having that conversation more often, they'll naturally start supporting it because people support what they talk about a lot, right? So you want to get them talking about it. I would also say that you've got to have some kind of measurement system in place, whether it's quarterly goals or weekly or monthly rhythms, whatever it is, where they're maintaining some type of momentum, right? Everyone loses touch of the vision when there's not momentum in the company, when there's not momentum in their role. You could have the greatest, heartfelt, caring, awesome situation in terms of a vision or a mission in the world. But if no one senses they're moving towards it, there's nothing you can do to get them to love it more. So you, as a leader, have to make sure people are moving towards it and they're getting recognized and appreciated for it. Otherwise, I mean, it could be, a mission of saving babies, and they'll get bored with the vision. Even though it's a beautiful thing, but if they're not actually doing any work that's contributing to it, they're out.
Rule number 6, take responsibility.
All of personal development, the good part about it, is about the difficult decisions. I really believe that. It's about the difficult decisions, and it's about the disciplined habits that keep us growing and extending and reaching new levels of our potential. That's why I love it. That's why I love personal development. That's why I love it so much. Doesn't matter how much I'm working, how tired I am, where I've been in the world, how much travel, how much work. Doesn't matter what's going on with my family, my life, my finance, or whatever. I love personal development because it commands so much from you. It says, oh, you want to grow? Look at where you are, young man. Look at where you are, young lady. Decide, is that the vision you have for your life? No? Then make the hard decisions, practice those disciplined habits to go where you want to go. I love that stuff. Today's a good day to evaluate the vision you have for your life, overlay that to how your life really is, and then make the difficult decisions to start more disciplined, moving towards that vision that you want. It's the stuff of accountability that lies within this principle. So when I talk about the vision decision, it's you own it, you're responsible for it, you've got to communicate it, and you got to be real about whether that vision is mapping to today. And if it's not, you got to initiate the decisions or the discussions with others to make the decisions.
Rule number 7, facilitate participation.
I've got ideas how to make my team more high performing, but some of these ideas involve organizational changes that would require buy-in from my managers and peers. What can I do to persuade others in a culture where change is often resisted and slow? You know what? Change is almost always resisted, and it's always slow. So the most important thing you can do, Jeff, is to realize a simple phrase. I teach it in everything I do. I might have been in the video. And that the most 5 powerful words in all of leadership is people support what they create. If you want buy-in from people, you have to facilitate a process where they came up with the answers. If you want buy-in from people, you have to facilitate the discussions and the meetings and the decision-making process in which people put their ideas into that hat, because then when it's their idea, they support it. When they had no input towards the idea, they always fight it. If they got to contribute one little piece of it, even if they don't want to do it. And I've had conversations with team members of one of our companies before where it's like, listen, I know you don't like the idea and you're not even sure of the general direction, but I want to make sure you've got at least a piece of it. So what's one thing you could contribute or give to make this more successful? What's one area you could play in what we're going to do that you might like? And just get them, get their foot in the door of doing something or contributing something or agreeing to something. Because when people have skin in the game, which is their ideas, or they can see their future towards it, when they have that kind of skin in the game, they get excited about it and they support it. The worst thing you can do is go roll out something to everybody that changes everything without having had them participate, right? Participation gets buy-in. Got it? Participation gets the buy-in.
Rule number 8, encourage others.
The strongest relationships are built on encouragement, right? we know this from the social sciences. I know many of you guys heard me recommend, for the last decade, the work by John Gottman and his wife in research and relationships. I love that work. And one of the critical things that came out of that was such a simple distinction that happy couples tend to praise each other 5 times more than they complain or negate. And whether that ratio is true in all relationships across all cultures is probably not super validated. But what I do believe is the simple way to break that down is encourage your partner a lot. Encourage them, cheer them on. They got a big day, do something. Look here, I got this on this laptop over here from Denise. Can I see that? You guys probably can't see this, dude. No, I'm not gonna show up. It's a Post-it note that she gave me like 6 months ago. I still have it on my computer. It says, I love you, I appreciate you, I know you are doing big things. I love you, I appreciate you, I know you are doing things. It was just a Post-it note she put on my computer in a really particularly difficult week that I was having. And we're both pretty good about leaving little notes around for each other, especially when we're traveling or we'll be apart or something like that. But also throughout the day. Like she put something over there that she likes, or she does. I'm like, I love that. Good job. That's amazing. And we don't say that flippantly. Like we were like, that's great. That's amazing. Like we cheer each other on a lot. And I think that's huge. The ability to encourage one another is so vital.
Rule number 9, be a good leader.
How do you ensure that a new team member is quickly integrated into the high-performing team? Andrea, 2 things. Number 1, you make sure you understand where that new team member is going to play, and you assign a lead in your company to mentor that person. You make sure, first and foremost, if it's your team, you sit them down, you talk through some of the things that I've covered so far already about what is it that we do here? What are we trying to create here? That you make sure that that person is really clear about kind of like what they're going to be doing on a weekly or a monthly or a quarterly rhythm. Like a rhythm is everything, which we'll talk about. And that they have somebody who's kind of their peer or their guide or their lead over their first 60 to 90 days at the company. It's huge, 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 especially if they're not starting with a group. I tend to like to hire in groups, and I highly, highly recommend that. If you're gonna hire another 5 people, don't hire one in September, one in October, one in November. Be like, okay, I guess if that means hiring people earlier, you hire them earlier, a little later, a little later. But if you can hire in groups, then you create culture. If you're always hiring one-offs, it's harder to do that. So first, hire in groups. If you can't hire in group, hire that lead, make sure that they are very clear on their rhythm, and that will help Andrea Soldat to assist you with how to think through that process.
And rule number 10, the last one before some very special bonus clips, is bring joy.
People with good mojo, they have more joy and enthusiasm for what's coming up and for what they're experiencing. So in this present moment, they're taking it in more with a great level of appreciation and gratitude. And because they're doing that, they're kind of playing with the moment right now. There's joy. It's kind of like they're that person who's opening that gift at Christmas. They don't even know what's in it. It could be a small gift, a big gift, but they're excited. You can see there's enthusiasm for unwrapping this gift. Well, they bring that same joy and that same enthusiasm to unwrapping this experience that we're gonna have together, for unwrapping this moment, for even if they're just at the restaurant waiting for the meal, they're excited for the meal to come. There's an amazing mojo around them because there's enthusiasm. They're breathing life into the moment. They're feeling a sense of excitement for what's about to come next. So they're so fun to hang out with because it always feels like something's about to happen, because you can just sense that energy from them, that they're excited and appreciative of the moment. Number 1 is my friend hat, which is so important. This is where when I'm having a bad day, I always say, okay, if I was coaching my absolute dearest best friend in the world who just went through the same day, what would I suggest that they do next? Not how would I change their life, not some big highfalutin stuff. Like, what would I suggest that person they do, like literally next in that situation they're in? Would it be, you know what, you really need to call your mom. You know what, you need to call that person, apologize. You know what, You need to send that email. You know what you need to do is take this. But what would I tell my absolute best, most adored friend to do as their very next step? Not the whole plan, just what's one thing I would tell my absolute best, dearest friend. I ask myself this question probably 2-3 times a week, right? Because I'll get frustrated by something will piss me off, or I'll be bummed that something crashed and burned. I'll be like, okay, what would if my best friend just went through that exact same thing, what would I say they should do first? And of course, once I think of what they should do first, then the next step comes, and the next step, and the next step. Meaning, kind of coach and advise yourself from a third-party standpoint. I know you probably know you should do that, but here's the way that I make it stick. I write the letter. This means I sit down with a blank piece of paper and I write the letter to myself from the best friend's perspective. Dear Brendan, you're really ugly and stupid, but you're my best friend. So, buddy, here's what I recommend you do about the situation that you're in. Here's how I think you should think about it. Here's what I recommend that you should do. And I literally write the letter to myself from the perspective of my best friend. Does that make sense? That's what I call putting on my friend hat, and I write the letter, Dear Brendan. And sometimes it's just, I write it, it's super short. It's on a little note card. I write like 10 sentences. Other times, man, I got to dig deep, and that thing becomes like a 4-page letter to myself. You know, and we know from psychology, specifically dealing with therapy and trauma, that if you will write yourself a letter, it does significantly change your emotional well-being. And writing it from this perspective as a friend has, I have found, made my letters much more compassionate, much more thoughtful, much more positive. So I just put my friend hat on, I write myself a little letter. That's number one. Dude, if you're angry all the time, you gotta change how you look at the world. Yes, there's a lot in the news that can piss you off. Yes, there's a lot going on that causes outrage all day long on Twitter or social media somewhere. But if that's your sole focus, no wonder you're upset all the time. Lots of people are angry right now because of the news or something chaotic or terrible or something they don't agree with is happening in the world. But that's not new. There's always chaos, there's always turmoil, there's always bad things happen in the world. But if that's your focus, no wonder you're having that anxiety and that frustration and that anger all the time. You gotta change both your focus and how you're reacting to things when you do see it. So first, let's work on your focus. You know, as much as you're angry all the time, are you also noticing the beauty of this world? I mean, the odds that you're even alive and having your breath is something to connect to every single morning. To have reverence for your life in the morning, to wake up. You know, one of my late mentors was Wayne Dyer, an amazing, amazing teacher. And he always talked about how he woke up, he rolled over, he put his feet on the ground and he said, thank you, thank you, thank you. He was grateful for his day, and he began that way. And I think so many people right now, they kind of roll up in bed and they grab their friggin' phone and they start going through the news or the social media, and what are they queuing? Immediately, I'm queuing stress, chaos, turmoil, clickables. You know, it's like clickbait, 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 clickbait. No wonder you're frustrated. You're activating your brain immediately right off the beginning of the day in all the turmoil of the world. Put the dang phone down, get up and think about what you're grateful for, about what you want to achieve and give and serve and create that day, about who needs you to be on your A game that day so you can focus on that instead of like this in bed. That will change how you start your day. And then listen, a lot of people who are angry all the time, they're also in outrage all the time because they're focusing on the problem all the time. And they're bemoaning the problem. They're calling out the problem, complaining about the problem, judging, criticizing, getting upset all the time. A ton of people who stay in anger all the time are failing to be solution-based. That's what they're doing. Right? They're just anger, anger, problem, 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 outrage, outrage, outrage. But listen, when you become a solution-based person, when you say, okay, I actually want to do something about this problem, and you start taking positive steps to at least address it or to participate, suddenly that anger goes into a new fire, and that fire is called enthusiasm. It is easy to switch anger into enthusiasm when you become solution-based as a mindset. When you say, okay, I don't like this, let me do something. Let me call somebody. Let me take this action. Let me write that letter. Let me send that email. Let me get my friends together. Let's go protest. Let's go get involved. Let's participate, because participation turns anger often into enthusiasm. People say, Brendan, I'm scared to start my dream. I'm like, you're not scared to start your dream. You're embarrassed to be seen starting small. Big difference. It's not about the dream that's freaking you out. It's about how you're gonna feel chasing the dream. It's about how you're gonna be perceived chasing the dream. It's about how you fear at night it won't turn out the way you wanted. It's not about the dream. It's about how you're processing how it will feel chasing the dream. And once you figure that out, you see that you can rewire yourself. You can teach yourself to think differently about the journey and the process. Because look, no matter how small you start something that matters. Start something that brings your life back. Start something that makes your heart feel full. Start something that does scare you. Allow that fear, allow that worry, allow that anxiety a little bit, because that's just saying you're growing, you're learning, you're changing, you're getting going. But let's be very clear. Most people, what they're really scared about is being embarrassed. Well, I don't know if I quit my job and I start this thing, what do my coworkers think when I do that? I don't know if I start this, what are my friends gonna say when they see me playing small and not doing big things? Because every big project starts with small little tasks that don't look sexy. Oh, what's everyone gonna think about me that I chose this route when the other thing was over here and that was a better choice? What people are scared about is being rejected, or more, being embarrassed. I tell people all the time, don't be embarrassed to start small. I think about when I started doing videos, it wasn't, we're at 200 million video views now. Tell you what, when I started, I was okay with the fact that it was like 10 people watched my videos, 9 of them was my mom on a different browsers probably hitting refresh to make me feel better about myself. I accepted the fact that starting small was part of the game. Instead of bemoaning that, I honored that process. I said, that is part of it. Being small in a big pond with big fish is part of the game. And only until you keep playing, keep moving, keep building, do you ever become one of the big fish. You have to be okay with being small. And so if you start your channel or you start your thing and only 100 people watch it, hey, that's 100 people who heard your message. That's 100 people who you helped. That's 100 people who you changed your mindset for. That's 100 people who let you do your own thing and watch. And even if they were haters, at least you started penetrating their mind. Get in the game. Never be embarrassed about starting small or scrappy or crappy, because that's part of the journey. It's supposed to be that way. So don't fear it. Acknowledge that's part of it. I'm gonna honor that. Let's go. I was a maybe 24, 25-year-old man, and I was a member of Kiwanis. And if you guys didn't know, Kiwanis it's kind of like Rotary or Lions Club. It's a nonprofit organization that's dedicated towards service in the community. And I was in Kiwanis, and I was the youngest one, hands down. Like in the room, we'd get together every single month on a Tuesday, and we'd have lunch, and we'd have a speaker in, and then we'd talk about a volunteer project we were gonna do that month, and that was kind of how it went in Kiwanis for me. And so, but in my room, I was 24, 25, in the room every Tuesday, when we got together, everyone else was older. They were like 50s and 60s and 70s older. When I was 20, I was the youngest person in the room every single time. And I remember I was having a particularly challenging time because I was thinking about quitting my job, but I was scared because I hadn't saved any money. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. I just knew that I knew that the job wasn't the thing at the time, but I didn't know what it was, and so I was scared to make the leap. And I was kind of struggling with some existential stuff because, it'd been 4 or 5 years I hadn't had a girlfriend, and it was just frustrating. I was like dating, but I just wasn't making real connections when I was dating, and I was just unhappy in that part of my life. I didn't know what I was doing with my career. I didn't have a significant relationship. I was like, oh man, I didn't feel good. And so I was having a really down day on that particular Tuesday. And I went in, and I was sitting next to this guy, and he was one of the awesome Kiwanians who was there. And he was, I think he was probably 59, 60 years old. He was in banking, very successful, wealthy guy, happy, he was like a happy-go-lucky grandpa type, just a good dude. And I'm just kind of listing off to him all these things that suck, And he says, well, what are you doing about it? And I said, well, and he says, well, I bet, and he said, I bet I know what's going on. He says, you're going home, you're probably watching too much TV, drinking too much beer, and sitting alone too often, or you're going out and not having any fun, and and we're just talking. My mode was, I go inside, so I kind of pull away from people when I'm unhappy. And so I was like, I kind of pull away, and I'm in my house. And he says, well, I know how to solve your problem. I said, oh, what is it? He goes, buy tickets. I'm like, buy tickets? What do you mean buy tickets? He goes, I want you to open up the paper. Remember the papers? So he said, I want you to open up the paper. And he goes, I want you to see what's going on in your town. And I want you to buy tickets to whatever's coming up the next 7 weekends. Is there a symphony coming to town? Buy tickets. Is there a ballet? Buy tickets. Is there an art museum? Buy tickets. He said, is there a concert? Buy tickets. And I said, what do you mean? I said, buy tickets. I want you to buy 1, 2, 3, 4 tickets, and I want you to take your friends, and I just want you to go. I want you to buy tickets, and I want you to go. And I'm like, what the hell does this have to do with anything I'm even talking about? He goes, just buy the tickets and come back next month, tell me about the tickets. And I'm like, no. And he literally pulls out his wallet, and I'll never forget it. He sets down 3 $100 bills. And he goes, buy the tickets. Here's the money. And I'm like, what do you even? And I was literally so frustrated. So long story short, I'll try to keep it shorter. But so I bought tickets. I got a symphony ticket. There was like a dance troupe in town or something weird. There's a Dave Matthews concert. And what else? There's one other thing. I can't remember what it was. There's something about the tickets. I went with 1 or 2 or 3 friends and went to them. And the second, I remember the opening act for the Dave Matthews Band started, and I was like, got it. Because sometimes when you're down and out, you got to get out and about. And so I was down and out, and he got me out and about. And then with your friends and you're socializing, and it's in a new environment, and things are happening, and my mind just started turning on again. I started getting all these ideas and these dreams that I don't know where they were. They weren't in my room. They weren't in my bed. These ideas and dreams, they weren't happening in my journal. The ideas and dreams, they weren't happening in my daily planner. It was like I was stuck there, so he moved me over here. Have you ever been like at a ballet or a symphony and orchestra, and you're just sitting there, and all of a sudden, you feel amazing? Like the music hits you, this idea comes in, and you walk out and you feel amazing. Have you ever gone to a Broadway show? You went in and you were frustrated and freaked out because all the horrible New York traffic, and all of a sudden you laugh your ass off and you leave the Broadway show and you feel like $1 million. And now no problem is gonna slow you down. That's buy tickets. Buy tickets to the seminar, buy tickets to the event, buy tickets to the art museum, the ballet, buy tickets. And I mean, if you're down and out and your life sucks right now, go buy tickets for the next 4 weeks. And I promise you're gonna be like, damn, buy tickets. That changed my life. Changed my life too. And I've learned ever since then, like if I'm down and out, it's like, buy tickets. So what if your parents don't support you? Who cares if your team doesn't support you? Who cares if your friends think you're crazy? Who cares if nobody in this world sees your dream? It is not your parents or your professors or your peers or the world's job to support your dream. That's your dream. That dream was sowed into your heart. That dream was given to you to nurture, to protect, to fulfill. It's not somebody else's job. So if your parents don't like your idea, you don't have to live your life to please just your parents. If your friends think you're crazy, it's not your job to make all of your friends think that you're sane. If your professors or the people in your community think, oh my gosh, you're just reckless and crazy and stupid, it's not your job to prove that you're smart to them. Your job is to fulfill that heart's desire. Your job is to fulfill that part of you that is begging you and pleading you to follow your dreams, to follow your heart, to create your thing. So first and foremost, don't think that it is everybody else's job to support you. It's not everybody else's job to cheer you on, to give you money, to invest in you, to pat you on the back every time you walk into your house at night and you did a good job. It's okay that other people have a different vision for themselves than you do. Just like you don't need to judge other people because you don't like their dreams, their desires, or the way they live their life or do their 9 to 5, then you shouldn't worry if they judge yours. And that's the first thing I always tell people is, it is not other people's responsibilities to support you or to believe in you. And I know that. You know, when I wrote my first book, no one believed me. I quit my 9 to 5 job, and everyone goes, well, you're so crazy to quit this job. Who are you to be a writer? You're a dumb kid. And it's true, who was I to be a writer? But I didn't worry what other people thought or if their judgment was approval for me to go ahead. In my heart, I knew I wanted to write. I wanted to create. And that desire was what I listened to, not other people's judgments or opinions. And remember, most other people's opinions are completely uninformed opinions about you. So I say, first and foremost, own your dream. It's yours, your job to cultivate. It's okay if nobody else believes you. You got to let go of those things that upset you 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. If you're an adult and you're still angry and pissed about things that happened to you in high school, you need a therapist. And I say that with all sincerity and all respect. If you're having mental thoughts that are coming from a place that are literally based 5, 10, 20 years ago that you just didn't deal with yet, you need help dealing with it. And you need to get yourself a meditation practice or a therapist or into some kind of way that you're on a consistent basis letting things go. Here's what I do. Every Sunday, I go, okay, what was I pissed about this last week? What really bothered me? Okay, I gotta let that go. Because you can't keep charging into the next week angry from last week. You gotta let it go. You gotta find a clean slate for yourself so that your soul can expand and can be positive and can be ambitious and motivated and serving the next week. Because listen, anger after anger after anger, hatred after hatred after hatred, criticism after criticism after criticism, rejection after rejection after rejection, outrage after outrage after outrage, it weighs you down. So you've gotta change how much of that you're taking in, and you've got to make sure every single week you're doing some kind of like mental detox to let that stuff go. And instead of cultivating the anger, cultivate the gratitude, cultivate the enthusiasm, and you can change your life. People always say, well, Brendan, I lost my motivation. I'm like, you didn't lose your motivation. You forgot to show up in the morning, look and think and feel what is it you are fighting for. See, you just show up and sometimes you check your inbox and you look on social media or you listen to that podcast or even you do your workout, but you're not thinking and obsessing, what is it I'm fighting for in my life right now? Or who is it I am fighting for? Because if you begin your day grounded in what you find to be purposeful, meaningful, important, fulfilling, and you say, what is it I'm fighting for? Why am I showing up? Why is it necessary that I deliver with excellence today? And you really emotionally get connected to something. That's the challenge. People are losing their motivation because they're not emotionally connected to anything. Outside of like the outrage on social media, outside of the outrage of the news, they're losing that fire inside that wants to build something, create something, deliver something, overcome something. So now they're just focused on everybody else. And the real thing is they didn't lose their motivation, they got distracted. Two different things, right? If you're really connected with what you are doing and why you are doing it and who you are doing it for specifically, everything changes and you'll overcome even the distractions. As I've written 6 books now, I have been surrounded by so many critics and so many judgments. You know, we have 200 million video views on my videos online. Guess what? A lot of the people were haters. But instead of seeing them and getting angry about it, I just see it and it's like, swipe, it doesn't affect me anymore. Part of maturity is getting that point where you can see criticism and see hatred and not make it your own. Not make it about your identity, to allow other people's opinions and judgments to live out there because they're not gonna go away. You need to accept that. The criticisms, the judgments, the hatred, it's not going away. You'll probably only hear more of it as you grow, even as you get more fame or more people liking you or more people accepting you or you get promoted. People ultimately will support you as you get momentum, but people will still hate you. So if you don't deal with it now, if you don't make a switch in your mind that says, either I'm gonna limit my exposure to them or I'm gonna change how I react to them, you will always be slave to other people's opinions, and that is not a life of freedom that you want to live. The reason people are scared to start their dream is because they're seeing this big complex thing. They're looking out and it's this huge thing. They see the complexity of the final vision of the dream. And so starting now is too overwhelming. They're not scared to start the dream. They're scared of the feeling of feeling overwhelmed. That's what they're scared of. So how do you deal with that? Stop thinking you have to have everything perfect and complete at the beginning. The finish line is 26 miles ahead. What matters now is step 1, 2, 3, 4, the first mile. You need to figure out what is the first mile towards your dream, not what's the finish line look like. Of course, if you look at the finish line, it's intimidating. You look at somebody who already has the business you want. You look at somebody who already has the car and the dream, and the house and the perfect life, and they've done it all already. They're 5, 10, 15, 20 years in front of you, and it seems so complex. You say, why should I even start? Look how far ahead they are. They had more miles. They put more miles in. But you can't compete with their miles. You got to start with your first step. Right here, right now, you go, okay, I'm gonna be okay starting small, and instead of trying to, in day one, have it all complete and take on all the complexity, I'm gonna do one thing here, 3 goals today, 3 goals the next day, 3 goals the next day, and I'm gonna get that momentum going, because with that momentum comes more motivation. With that momentum, more learning. With that momentum, more progress, but it only begins if you're okay starting small and taking on little bites at your dream and not trying to eat the whole thing all at once because it will overwhelm you. We completed the world's largest study of high performers worldwide with data points of over 2 million people from 190 countries around the world. And when we polled and we found out who those high performers were, the people who had the longest term success, and there was no question at all that they tend to be focusing on one person or maybe their team or maybe their financial situation. They were focused on like 1 or 2 things for the reason that they were doing things. And it wasn't like, I'm gonna change the world, and they had some big, esoteric, dreamy kind of thing. They're like, you know what? I gotta make the rent. You know what? I gotta buy this new thing. You know what? I wanna build this team. You know what? I wanna build this business. You know what? I gotta get my art out here. I'm fighting for that. But they were fighting for one specific thing, maybe 2, but it was so specific. Listen, we all deal with self-doubt. It's not something that's ever actually gonna go away with you, so you gotta figure out how are you gonna reframe it? How are you gonna use self-doubt as like a tool to motivate you, to make you stay driven, to make sure that even in those things you're scared of, you approach them with courage. Self-doubt isn't something you should be upset that you have. I go onto arenas where there's 25,000 people in the audience, and I'm backstage and I have that anxiety, I have that concern. Sometimes I don't like my shirt, I have the doubt of, am I gonna do a good job today? And I worry about it too. Everybody has self-doubt. The challenge is some people think they don't need to ever have it, and some people are using it as a tool to stop towards their dreams instead of progress towards their dreams.
For me, it would be live, love, matter. And it'd be something around those truths. Mm-hmm. Because at the end of your life, what I found, it's hard to give perspective to this, but for 20 years, I've been telling people to find those questions. And no matter what, and I don't know if you know this, but I volunteered in hospices for a decade. I've been with a lot of people in their last moments, weeks and months. I've been around a lot of that in my life because I wanted to see if what I experienced on that car was what other people experienced. In some ways it was. In some ways, at the end, we all wanted to know, did I live and how that was, and did I love and did I matter?
Luckily, I just knew that psychologically, with familiarity, the odds of decreasing anxiety is extremely high.
So it's basically like running a simulation.
Running that simulation, yeah, exactly, like a pilot. Running that simulation over and over and over. If you're a pilot and you run the simulation and it crashes 50 times, the first 10 you're mortified, the last 12 you're on the dials. And so I think just running the pattern over and over visually is really powerful. The world completely underestimates the power of visualization. Completely misutilizes the human power of contemplation. The number one thing I say to my high performance clients is going through the motions is the death of high performance. High performers don't go through the motions.
Yeah, I think
they've contemplated, they're intentional, they're thoughtful, they've practiced, they want it to go well. And the reason most people don't do that is because the pressure. It puts a lot of pressure on yourself. But that's what makes people great.
Truth is, life will never be joyous unless you bring the joy. I really feel like that. So many people are waiting to have happiness, and they're waiting to like, well, maybe when my boss loosens up, I'll loosen up. Or, you know, when she's vulnerable, I'll be vulnerable. Or it's like, we're waiting for something. I'm like, it's not, your life will never be what it is going to be unless you bring that thing. You know, for me, I wanted to be, I want to be more bold in my life. That was one of my goals, because I wasn't that guy who would just like go out and do the things I do now. So I made gold I was like, bold is an intention. I set it as an alarm on my phone. My alarm would go off 3 times a day and bold would pop up. And I conditioned myself over 7 years to be more bold, which is a big deal for me. And because I wanted that, I had to learn how to bring that. So whatever you want in life, you got to bring it.
Camera was super awkward for me. And I was like, okay, but if I want to change the world, guess what is necessary? Communication skills. I'm going to have to learn that. I wasn't raised in a place, I was raised in Montana, where men didn't really communicate, except with looks, glances, and fists, you know? So it was like, if a guy lifted, it wasn't like we're gesturing.
Right,
now.
yeah.
Where I'm from, if their hand came up, you were getting punched in the face, man. That was it.
Oh, wow.
So I had to learn emotional intelligence. That's a skill. So communication, emotional intelligence. When I got into our business, I had to learn copywriting. I didn't know what that was. Email marketing. I didn't know that. I had to learn coding. None of that. I knew what it was, but I was always confident. And I think real confidence is your belief in your ability to figure things out. I believe in my ability to figure things out. Give me enough time, energy, resources, study, books, mentors. I will figure out. You want me to go to the moon? I'll figure it out. Even though I have no idea today, I can learn and get mentors. So that's a deep part of my life. High performers have that. They just believe they'll figure things out. That confidence is what ties a lot of their habits and their abilities together.
We all have to have those things in our business or our brands or the things that we're being productive towards that push us, that challenge us. If you don't have 3 or 4 of those each year that are your form of business or productivity marathons, build them back in. Build in challenging expressions for yourself each year. Build them in. We all need our own marathon each year, whether that's a true running marathon or for me, this is it for me. And I got 8 of these a year that I build in that make me sharp. I don't need to do them. The better use of my time would just be doing more videos on the internets, more social media. But this pushes me. This demands excellence from me.
Community, having people in my life who I can, when I'm on the road for X amount of time, or I'm dealing with a super hard client, or we're rolling out a leadership program to a Fortune 50 company, or, I'm doing my first, major deal with Oprah Winfrey Network, and I don't know what to do. I am so incredibly fast of asking people what to do. I'm also incredibly fast in sharing how I feel about it. Being like, I feel really awkward about this. I'm unsure. I'm having a lot of self-doubt. How would you deal with it? Like, I'm somebody who expresses his emotions all the time. My frigging tagline is bring the joy. Like, everybody knows that. Why? Because I want to make sure people know we're going to create this energy. Because emotion is not something you have, it is something you generate. Emotion can be an impulse, but feelings is our interpretations of those impulses over a period of time. And I said, I want to feel vibrancy, joy, love, connection, satisfaction, fulfillment in my life. So I'm going to learn to generate those emotions. How do you learn to generate the emotions? You read psychology. How do you learn to generate the emotions? You try. Like, you're just like, I'm going to go, we're going to have date night tonight. I'm going to make it a fun night. I'm going to make it a fun night. I'm going to do things to see, can I make people laugh? Can I make people turn their lights on? And you learn to control your own emotions or deal with them in better ways as you decide to be a more mature person.
I think the challenge that you have when you're good is that you're good.
Yeah.
So
you're like, I'm doing pretty good already.
Yeah, it's easy. The better you get, the more expertise development you get, the easier it is to show up and go through the motions.
Yeah, you don't have to prepare as much. You don't have to practice as much. You get results.
Whatever you're going to do is good enough.
Yeah.
But what happens with high performance, it eats at them because they know they got more in the tank. And they're like, you know what, that was good, but I could have gotten another. And it's not that they're dissatisfied. We take on that myth in this book. High performers are not dissatisfied. So people who say never be satisfied, they got to look at why they're saying that, because it's not true, because high performers are satisfied. They're striving satisfied. Doesn't mean they're not striving for the next big thing, want to become better, but they're happy. High performers are happier than all of their peers. I mean, by significant, almost double digits. So it's really significant. But I think for me, I need to constantly be reminding myself, like, okay, what is the reason you need to perform really well right now? And I need to be more consistent about that question. So I set up triggers in my life to do that, from every time I stand in line, I have a line trigger, I have door triggers, I have phone triggers.
Smart.
So when I stand in line, I always say, what level am I right now in terms of my presence and energy? Scale 1 to 10. 1, I suck, I'm dead, I'm not even alive, not even feeling grateful. 10, I'm like, I'm vibrant, I'm joyous, here I am. And I rate myself consistently on that. And it just retouches me, like the need. I want to feel it's necessary to be grateful. I want to feel it's necessary to be great. I want to feel it's necessary to do my best, but you don't get that without reminders. So you got to set up alarms or triggers or some, note cards around that, whatever it is it takes for you to have that. But I know for me, Ray's, after the research, I didn't get how, you're talking from every athlete to every high CEO this is what they did. And I didn't find this. You'll see all the questions I asked them in the book. I really had to dial into their psyche. And when we found that, I was like, is that a thing that they'd really, but they all do. And so it inspired me to another level. I'm like, I'm going to raise my necessity and I'm going to practice everything in the book to get that up a little higher.
I would say, maybe not the most popular answer, I go to the fear. How are you going to look silly or stupid? You're not going to ask questions. And you're going to end up in the wrong place. And people are like, why didn't you just ask? Like, follow the fear. If the fear says, I'm scared, I'm going to look stupid by asking questions, like, well, let's flip that. Because if you don't ask questions, you're definitely going to look stupid. You're definitely going to end up in the wrong place. Yeah. You're definitely, you're manifesting the very thing you fear by not doing the thing that you're scared and being, you don't want to be vulnerable about.
Yeah. I think those who learn to endure hardship, struggle, challenge, difficulty, pain, grief, vulnerability, failure, regret, that's one side of that coin. If you learn to do that, but you also don't, on the other side, learn to allow joy, fulfillment, satisfaction, a sense of, now hold on.
I have to stop you. Allow, is that the word you want to commit to? You said bring.
I'm going to build.
Okay.
I'm building. You have to first allow it, because what most people do is, if on the other side of the coin, it's super etched in, what happens is, even when that impulse comes up to, I like this, oh no, I'm not supposed to like it. So you have a lot of people who are extremely talented at the top levels, who they do endure the pain, and they really like the pain, and they will allow that all the day long. They'll allow that now because they'll tell their brain, this is what's expected. But they also don't let themselves feel good when feeling good is there. This is a real big problem. I mean, if you study like psychoses, a lot of people who really struggle with addictions, eating disorders are super common, who even when they feel that sense of self-love or self-acceptance, oh, I'm not supposed to feel that. No, you really, there is an element to personal development where you have to allow the good feelings and not push them away because it's like, oh, I don't deserve to feel that. Because a huge part of the world is telling themselves, I don't yet deserve to feel happy. Even though happiness comes up, I shouldn't feel that yet. I'm gonna keep striving. It's not until I get the next 2 million, then I'll let myself feel happy, even though they had that good Monday. And so you have a lot of people who are striving in difficulty, who also have not taught themselves the emotional side of what is called the most important movement in the history of the world in psychology, called positive psychology, kicked off by Marty Seligman, a good friend of mine, Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. Without that work of saying, no, we also have to allow ourselves and teach ourselves to flourish, feel satisfaction, feel joy. So I'm 100% with you. And I'm like, the rule is, that's one side of the coin. And the other rule is, make sure you teach yourself to generate the positive emotions. Because what happens is, if you don't teach yourself to generate the positive emotions as well, then what ends up happening is you burn out, or you become a cliche of the person who had it all and never felt fulfilled.
Think of your life as being a productively fulfilling life. That productivity is not a time management thing, it's a purpose thing. I don't think of time management when I think of productivity, I think of purpose. I think of who do I want to be? What do I want to contribute? What will be fulfilling for me? Because if you don't have something bigger than just blocks of time, which are important, but there's not something that we together are going towards where it's this set of dreams, where there's personal meaning and there is social contribution, we won't go.
I had been doing seminars and coaching for 6-7 years at a really high level. But I was wondering, I'm like, is my stuff right? Is it true? Am I one of these guys who just talk, like, let me super test it. So we did research. I teamed up with a researcher from University of Pennsylvania's positive psychology department and researchers at UC Santa Barbara. We conducted the world's largest study of high performers of all time. Like no other study has been this big, this comprehensive, this deep dive.
190 countries?
190 countries. Yeah. I mean, millions of data points. And the reason, because no one would spend the money on it, I was like, I'll kick this. Let's figure this out, because I want to know that what I'm doing is precise and academically validated. Mm-hmm. But I only bring that up because the first habit that we discovered of high performers worldwide, and high performers tend to be the top 15% of successful people in whatever field that is. And usually, and that's the broad 190 countries. In the US, it's the top 3%. Mm-hmm. Hands down, the habit that really changed their trajectory was this habit called seek clarity. Notice it doesn't say get clarity.
Yeah.
High performers seek clarity. I'll give an example.
Yeah, please.
Like with Oprah. I've had the blessing of working with Oprah. If you have a meeting with Oprah, when she walks in that meeting, her first thing she asks is, what's our intention for this meeting? Mm-hmm. Now, lots of executives walk in meetings, they just start the meetings. She's seeking clarity of what is this about. And you take a underperformer in the work world or at your job, they just bumble in and they're like, okay, let's just do it. High performers go, what is this about? Where does it fit in? What's the priority? They're asking themselves questions constantly, and not questions of self-doubt, questions of clarity. Mm-hmm. Like, who could I be? What's my best self look in this situation? That's a question high performers ask. They want to know, how can I be of most service in this situation? Mm. A lot of people just go through the motions. High performers seek clarity. They ask the questions, and because they get clarity and seek clarity throughout the process, they get ahead faster. Because a lot of people and they're good, but a lot of people are just brunt force workers. They'll just go and do it. And they'll just apply force and will and hope and fire and hours at something. But often they're running in the wrong direction.
Yeah, absolutely.
High performers, it's like in directions. The first lesson today about sort of having patience for your dream is you have to work on it every single day for at least 30 minutes, or don't fool yourself that it's going to happen. We all hope that one day we'll get a bunch of free weekends or a month off or 3 months off, and that's when we'll finally start working towards our thing. You got to do it every day. Where that means you research every day, you read every day, you study every day, you take a course every day, or you actually create everything on that thing every day. You're just working at it. Book authors, they write every day. Not all of them, but a lot of the greats wrote every single day, right? And it's just forcing ourselves to really be in the game. Now, not everybody writes every day. Not everyone needs to create every day. Some people can just have a marvelous 18 days and they've written the greatest book of all time, but that rarely happens. It rarely happens. And those folks tend to be like masters or savants or geniuses. Regular folks, myself included, I got to work every day towards my dreams. Every day I honed in something about this. And if you didn't know something about me, I do everything in this business, right? I'm shooting this video right now, but I picked the materials for this thing. I chose the fonts. I designed all the pages. I wrote the back cover, the front cover, the inside stuff. It's like I do the projects of my dreams. And that's what keeps me creatively fired up and engaged, Let go of the baggage. You're never going to touch the full rim of your potential if you're weighted down by baggage from your elementary school years, your high school years, your college years, these last 4 years. Listen, the last chapters of the book, you gone through them. You finished them. You flipped the page. You got a new chapter here. And you have to be willing to break from the past to have the future you so desperately desire. You have to have the courage to allow yourself to honor the past as it was, to forgive those who need to be forgiven, to forgive yourself, and to acknowledge that everything led you to this point now. Everything. Those crappy times, those times when you're depressed, those times when you gave up on yourself, those times when someone else gave up on you, those times that you gave up on others, the times that you quit, the times that you failed, the times that you felt so small, you were embarrassed. Those times don't live in this moment. And the more of those times that you cultivate in your mind and you ruminate on and you think and you self-talk on and you revisit in your mind, the more disempowering times from the past, hurtful times from the past, failures from the past, that you keep running in your head, what that is doing is that is taking up the very free space necessary for the bold ideas to come in. It's taking up the space for the very needed white space for creativity to come in, for the dreams to come in, for the best you to speak through from. Like, it's hard for you to live an authentic and true and vulnerable and real life if you're always speaking through your baggage, if you're always thinking through your baggage. And you guys know what I'm talking about. Like, everyone's got different baggage. Maybe your baggage is your divorce or that last job. They are not relevant today. And the only reason they're relevant today is if either you allow them to be relevant from those situations or those persons revisiting you, or you're running the same old story. You're running the same old excuses. Yeah, I can't do this because I suck at relationships. No, you sucked at relationships 10 years ago. Well, I can't do this because, I failed. Yeah, 6 months ago. Today's a new day, homie. Like, you got to access this day, dude. This day is fresh. This day is clean. This day woke up, showered, ready, prepped for you by the universe or spirit or God or luck or cosmos, whatever you want to call it. This day says to you, when you wake up in the morning, the day whispers to you, do not fear me, for I have been brought here for you. You don't fear the day. That day has been brought here for you. You never know a person if you don't know their goals. And if you don't know their goals, you're never going to be a great friend. You'll never be their great lover, their great supporter, their great family member. And it's weird though, because most people actually don't know other people's goals. I'll ask family members to say, what's your sister's goals? And she wants to be a dancer. Okay, what kind of dancer? When? What does she want to do with that career? Is it short term? Is it long term? Like, you have to really get into people's goals to understand their heart. And so that's what I want you to do is, if you want to be a great spouse to somebody, you got to re-engage and say, hey, what do you want at this stage of your life? Because I know what you used to want, then we had kids, but where are you at now? You got to get in that conversation with your partner and say, hey, listen, I know we've been through a couple of weird months where we just haven't really felt each other out. It's like, let's just do some personal development. Like, what do you really want to do right now at this stage of your life? Because you have to understand, when I say this stage of your life, that's very specific. Meaning, a lot of people's goals change. And it changes like every 3 months, every year, every 3 years. So if you haven't had the conversation with the important people in your life recently about what your goals are and about what their goals are, then I'm telling you, you're just skimming at the surface. Because if you don't support other people's dreams, how can you ever have a deep relationship with them? And if you don't share your dreams and your heart and your desire with other people, how can they possibly help you meet that hunger? How can they possibly help you become the best version of you if you haven't shared it? So you also have to be very honest with what's your real thoughts, what's your real feelings, what's your real dreams, what do you really want at this stage of your life with all the important people around you. It's one of my favorite things to do with high performers to say, okay, do all the people around you know what you really want right now? Are they clear on what your goals are? Are they clear about how they can support that or how much you want them to be involved in it? It's like a lot of people start their own business, but they don't tell the other people around them what that business is, what it requires, how they love their support. And so we all go it alone. And isn't going it alone the opposite of having healthy, supportive relationships? So first thing you gotta do, if you want better relationships, get to know other people's goals. Many of you've been waiting to hire that first virtual assistant or that person to help you at the house so you can focus on your business, who can support you with the kids, or somebody who can, come in and help just clean the house. Some of you have been waiting to hire that manager, that COO, that CEO, and I'm here to tell you, do it. Like, set your Q1 goals of 2019 to hire the team that you need. Don't finish Q1 without the team that you need in place, trained, and going. For some of you, that might be 100 employees. Some of you, that's 10. I don't know what your situation is, but I'm here to tell you, hire sooner, hire better. If you want to deal with self-doubt, you absolutely must start entering each day as more intentional of a human. Because the issue is, one of the reasons we doubt ourselves is because we're just all over the place. Sometimes you're cool in this situation, but you're dumb in that situation. Sometimes you don't do well here, but you do well here. And what happens is so many people, they're going through the motions, or they're just showing up in life every single day and they're reacting. And because they're always reacting, they don't have a character. They haven't determined, who am I really? Who am I gonna act like in this situation? Who am I gonna behave like in this situation? How am I gonna treat people in this situation? Because they haven't shown up intentional enough and sought to live out that intention, they feel a lot of discord in life. Like they don't know who they are because they just keep showing up and reacting to what's there. But guess what? What's there is always different. The world is always changing, people are always changing, situations are always changing. So if all you're ever doing is showing up and reacting, I guess I'll just go through it and see how it goes, you're never forming an intentional character. So of course you doubt yourself, because every situation is different and you can never have certainty in that. But you can have strength inside if from now on you wake up every day and you say, okay, I'm gonna be these 3 words today. And you just set the words. You say, okay, I'm gonna be fun, I'm gonna be playful, I'm gonna be kind. And that day you are fun, playful, and kind. And the next day you say, okay, I'm gonna be patient today, I'm gonna be thoughtful, and I'm gonna be appreciative. And you're patient, thoughtful, and appreciative. You do that over and over and over again. Set an intention for who to be that. Set an intention, be that. Set an intention, be that. And you do that in more situations in your life, and more days, and more weeks, and more months, and more years. And one day you wake up and you're confident in self, because you know that you can direct your mind and your emotions and your body to be the person who you really want to be. The more often you do that, the more real, genuine self-confidence will come into your life. The most important thing, I know this sounds so silly, but common sense is not always common practice, and that's why so many potentially great people fail to ever achieve their potential. And that's this. Listen, you have to get your visualization game down. Visualization, that means, listen, when I wake up, when I got a dream, I wake up in the morning, and before I get out of bed, I close my eyes and I just see it happening a little bit. And I'll lay in bed and let my mind and my body stir up a little bit of excitement, or sometimes even anxiety, about seeing the actual thing that I want happen. That was for me at one part of my life, seeing myself on stages, speaking and training to people. One part of my life, it was seeing my book come out and seeing it on the New York Times bestseller list, or seeing it on the Amazon bestseller list. It was sometimes seeing myself coaching major celebrities, or sitting side by side with an Oprah Winfrey or a Tony Robbins or a Larry King, all of which I've been able to do. It was because I visualized what I really wanted. But here's the thing, it's not just visualization. That's like the first part. It's also affect. We talk about in high performance and in psychology about this thing called affect, which is basically feelings and emotions. I want you to allow yourself to literally not just kind of casually see it, like put yourself there and feel it and sense it and see it and feel it and drink it in, like really take in the ambiance, the circumstance, like really visualize and feel what you are seeing. That's so key. I mean, as silly as this is, I literally would lay there and I'm like, okay, if I'm gonna fill out the ideal thing in the morning, what questions would I ask to really get it going? I just start literally seeing myself at my desk in the morning, filling out the high performance planner, thinking about other people worldwide filling out at the same time as me, and knowing that I got this tribe of people on this path of trying to be their best with me, and imagining people coming up and goes, oh my gosh, Brendan, you completely changed my morning. You completely changed my weekly routine. You completely changed my life, because I'd never tracked my habits before. I'd never assessed my balance every single week between family, friends, work, finances, adventure, learning, etc. Everything, every tool that we put in here, I could just imagine someone come up and saying, Brendan, I really appreciate that part. And I literally just thought about it because I wanted it to feel like, I was excited for the project. Otherwise, look how easy it is to diminish anything in our lives. Well, it's just a book, it's just a planner, it's just a video, it's just a cosmetic line, it's just a beauty thing, it's just a that. Like, we all diminish our dreams, we make excuses, and we make our dreams like, we throw it away because we're scared to feel it. You know what I'm saying? It's easier to just throw it away. It's no big deal. Avoid it. No problem. And we mess up. I want you to feel it. Stop detaching from your dreams. Stop avoiding that anxious, scary feeling of thinking how hard it's going to be and thinking how great it's going to be. Because most people they don't want to even think about it because it causes too much nerves. I'm like, dance in those nerves a little bit. Let them come up for you, because that's fuel, man. That's fuel. It's like Les Brown taught us, you gotta be hungry. You'll never be hungry if you don't visualize it, see it, feel it, and want it. I've always really worked extremely hard to maintain an incredible level of energy in my mental body, in my mental, emotional, physical, spiritual being, just trying to do everything I can, from the way that I work out, to what I consume, to what I don't consume, to how I rest, to how I meditate, to how I recover. Like, everything in my life has always been about, how do I bring the joy? And if I'm going to generate the energy I want to create for you guys, how do I do that specifically? Well, I've always got these routines and everything else, but what happened this year, I was had my health taken away a little bit. In mid-October, I got pneumonia and tonsillitis at the same time, while I was on the road doing multiple 4-day and multiple 5-day events where I'm kind of the lead trainer. And that kicked my butt, and I'm still honestly recovering from it. Like, I'm still feeling it. I'm still feeling it heading into the final part of this year. I'm still recovering. Don't worry, clean bill of health. Doctor's like, you're good to go. Your body's gonna be recovering. You're gonna be tired for a while. And I made it 41, 42 years without feeling fatigue outside of times of injury. I don't think I've ever had the flu. I don't really ever get sick. When I get sick, it's like sniffles. But this one was something, it just smacked me. I mean, I was down and out. It's why I feel like I'm way behind on my episodes for you all. It's why I feel like we're launching a few things in January that I'd hope to launch in, October. So that, like, taking care of my health has always been a priority. This year, I learned what it feels like when it's gone. And many have been with me for a long time. That happened in 2011 when I had my brain injury and I snapped my wrist and my ribs and my hip. So I'm not, new to pain. I'm not new to being sick. But this was the first time where I also, with the sickness, lost motivation. Where it was like, even when when I was really sick in the past of my life, I would still wake up in the day and I'd prime my mind, get excited about what's to come, and just go. This year, there was about the last 2 months, I really had to work on that. And there were plenty of days I was just like, ugh. Not because I didn't love my life or I wasn't grateful or present. You've been there before. Like, when you physically feel terrible, it is hard to get your mind right. A lot of people have self-doubt in their lives because they don't have clarity for what they want. A lot of people wander in a situation and they have a lot of self-doubt because they didn't sit down and plan it out. They didn't prepare. They didn't ask mentors or model others or do the research to figure out, okay, I should do A, B, C, D, and E. In other words, if you don't know the steps to success, of course you'll have more self-doubt. If you don't have the plan, if you don't have the map, if you don't know what you're doing, of course you're gonna have more self-doubt. So part of it is just decide to build a plan. Even if you have to ask for help and say, hey guys, how would you do this? What would be your first step? What would be your second step? I'm always asking that. Even at this stage of my career, I'm still saying, hey guys, if you're gonna launch this, how would you do it? If you're gonna promote that, how would you do it? If you're gonna create this thing, how would you do it? If you're gonna build this team or build that business, what would you do? And I always try to get the map before I enter the woods, so that I have the steps, I know the path. Because if you can remove the doubt about the path, you'll have more confidence in yourself.
I really believe most people are terrified of embarrassment. They might call it something else, but they're scared of embarrassment. I just put this video out where it starts for the first line is, you're not scared to start your dream, you're embarrassed to be seen starting small. And it just blew up on social media for us. I think I got more direct messages on that one little post than anything I've ever done. And people really resonated with it. And because if you think about the truth about it is, that's what it is for a lot of people. They don't, if they quit their job and they go to start something new, they don't want all their former, people to see them doing something that looks new and fresh and maybe ugly or not put together. They're scared to be embarrassed and have other people judge them. They're scared they might use different language. Well, they might say, well, I'm just fearful. But if you really dig down the fearful, most people are just scared to be embarrassed. They're scared to try something and obviously fail at it. And the perception of that failure really shuts them down. So we have to ask different questions. And I ask this all the time. I literally use the word embarrassment. I said, listen, I'll say something like, are you not going to try this? Before we even get to this, like, you can see it, you made it happen. Are you not going to try it because you're scared of what somebody else might think? Are you not going to try it because you're scared of what somebody else might think? I ask that all the time. And almost all the time, people go, well, I'm not scared, but, I'm worried what my spouse will think. Oh, I'm not scared, but yeah, people at work might think I'm a little crazy. And I'll explore that with them, because if we can't get them over that line of embarrassment and the willingness for trial and error, we won't get them to do anything. And so my way through embarrassment for me is two different ways, just depending on who the person is. When I hear that someone might be embarrassed to do something, I'll often start with that past attempt conversation. Well, have you tried something like this before and people were horrible to you? And they're always like, well, no, I've never tried this before. Oh, so you're making an assumption that you'd feel uncomfortable. But then I also want to give them permission of like, is this dream worth having a few people think you're crazy? Is this dream worth having a few people think you're crazy? And I'll open up that dialogue. Well, yeah. Okay. Well, who might think you're crazy? Well, my spouse is going to think I'm crazy. Cool. How are they going to communicate that to you? Well, they're going to call me stupid. Have they ever called you stupid before? Well, no. Or yes, they have. I say, okay. So do you survived it last time they called you stupid? Would it be worth surviving it again if they call you stupid? If you felt better because you actually got momentum towards something that matters to you? Like, oh, yeah. And listen, knowing that a big frame here in helping people get over excuses is getting them tied back to, is what they are after important? I brought that up earlier. How important is this to you? Do you really want this? Well, if you said that's important, isn't it worth a little discomfort? Haven't you been discomforted before? Haven't you felt judged and stupid before? Okay, so you'll survive that. Now the question is about survival, right? And they'll say, yeah, it's not about survival. I say, great. The question is about survival. Sounds to me like the real question is whether you want it. We know you'll survive. I'm curious, if we know you'll survive, what will it feel like if you're thriving? Would it be worthwhile to have a few doubters or to look stupid or be seen as silly if you woke up energized by what you were doing? Would that be worth it? Honor the struggle. Like, so many people bemoan the hardship, and they hate it. And I would say, anything you apply hate to quickly dies. You got a dream and you're hating the process. You apply hate to the process, the dream's going to die. It's like, don't be very careful of what you put hate or things to. And most people do that with hardship. And I've always seen hardship as like, I'm going to honor this process. It's sort of a samurai mentality. You know, it's like, I'm going to honor that this is difficult because that is precisely what's needed.
Number one, you have to reframe confidence. A lot of people say, well, Brendan, I'm just not confident. I wish I was more confident. I wish I had more fire. I wish I believed in myself more. It's my doubt. I always worry about myself. I never believe in myself. I'm always selling myself short, and I always never give myself credit. And I just quit. And maybe, but I think what happens for a lot of people is they just never really learn what real confidence is. It's like they're not necessarily without each other. It's not like they're necessarily mutually exclusive, right? It's like sometimes the truth is you can be confident but still have doubts about capabilities. That makes you real. It makes you a non-egomaniac, because only super egomaniacs have no self-doubt. Like only sociopaths lack enough self-doubt. And so self-doubt can be okay. What you have to figure out is, what does confidence mean to you? Instead of worrying so much about the doubt, like what's the opposite? What's the other part of that? What does confidence really mean to you? And we did the largest study that's ever been done on high performers worldwide. And what we learned about is like the most successful people in the world, the way they think about confidence is this, simply this: their belief in their ability to figure things out. So it doesn't mean they don't have self-doubt. They just believe, I can figure things out. Give me enough time, energy, resources, mentorship, support, and I can figure anything out. And you've got to start believing that. As much as you spend time questioning yourself, you have to think, okay, can I remember that I figured out things in the past that I wasn't prepared for? You've done projects in the past. You've been in situations in the past where you had no idea how to handle it, but you figured it out. Take confidence in that. Next time you're going in a situation and all you can do is think about yourself, and freak out, what I want you to do is to remember all of those times where you did overcome the doubts, did overcome the anxiety, overcame the lack of skills, the unknowns, and you still pulled it off. And there's been more times in your life that happened than you give yourselves credit for. I mean, maybe you showed up that one time at school and you were self-doubting, but people liked you and you were just fine. Maybe that one time you went into that project and you knew you didn't know how to do it, but by the end of that week or the end of that month, you figured it out. You have to have a memory for the things that you did overcome as much as you worry about the things that you're lacking in. Does that make sense? If all of your thought pattern is always running on, I lack, of course you're gonna self-doubt all the time to a degree where you stop. But if you remember, oh wait, yeah, I overcame that. Yeah, and I learned that, and I figured out how to do that. And that went just fine. And they were fine with me, and I did okay over there. If you can have that self-talk, remind yourself of all the times you overcame what you did not know, that will be more of a genuine self-confidence that says, you know what? I believe in my ability to figure things out. Even if I have some doubts about how it might go or doubts about how things might turn out, I do know that I will figure it out. Give me enough time, energy, effort, resources, and support. Like I said, that's genuine self-confidence. It's not like I know everything. It's, you know what? I'll figure it out. And that's all I'm asking for you. So even though you have doubts, next time you're going into a situation where you have doubt, I want you to say, you know what? I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out, and trust in that.
Our mutual friend Tony Robbins says, like, that's ultimate failure. To succeed, but never feel like a success, never feel like you've had it. Like, I'm vitally aware that, I could get on a plane and not survive. I'm vitally aware that tomorrow might not be here for me. I don't want to grit and hustle it out and never feel the joys of life, that satisfaction, that pleasure of, you know what, gosh, good for you. You're trying hard, Brendan. Today sucked. You failed today, Brendan. But you're doing a good job, kid. Stay in the game. Feel some satisfaction that you tried. Feel some fulfillment of that, because what I've learned from high performers, this is not just Brendan's personal opinion. I've done this for 16 years at the highest levels. And I see it over and over. It's usually when I get the call, it's like, well, I just sold my company for, hundreds of millions, and I'm miserable. And I ask, when someone says, I can't figure out, Brendan, everyone says I should be happy. I'm not. I don't know what's going on. And they're edgy as hell about it. Like, I have it. I mean, geez, look at the house, look at the girl, look at the cars, look at the thing. I got it all. I'm freaking out, man. I don't know why. I did it all. And I said, well, did you ever teach yourself to be happy along the way? And they never did that work. Because doing that work is what makes life worthwhile too.
You know, a lot of people in relationships, they just go through the motions. Let's go out to the movie, let's go out to dinner, and then they're out to movies and they're on the phone, or out to dinner and they're on the phone. And they're not even paying attention to the other person and trying to create magic. But if you remember at the beginning of a relationship, you really worked hard to do unique things, to take someone to a nice restaurant, to create an experience at the park or at the show. You worked hard to set up flowers for them or give them a nice card. Like, you were thinking about experiences. I love you so much. Let's go to Italy. Let's go to France. Someday let's go and swim with the dolphins. I mean, you had all these ideas for adventures and unique experiences, and then it turned into Thursday night, Netflix, 4 barrels of popcorn and a barrel of wine. And all of a sudden you're like, why don't we have the zest in the pop anymore? Because you stopped creating experiences that brought out that newness and that vibrancy and that adventure and that growth together. Like, the most important thing in great relationships, they do things together. And this applies to your friends too. Like, are you creating situations with your friends where you go out on an adventure together? I mean, when's the last time you really hung out with your friends and you did something new? Not the same old thing, something new. When's the last time in your relationship, maybe your marriage or your partner, did you really try to craft something magical? And often they'll realize they didn't try to craft something magical in years. And now they wonder why their marriage is in trouble. They haven't tried to craft something magical in months, and they wonder why their boyfriend's disinterested. You have to work hard in relationships. You have to plan in relationships. You have to make sure that variety is there and that experiences are forming a tighter bond. Because listen, you can share your goals, you can share your fears, you can talk all day, you can have great dates, but if you're not having new experiences together, suddenly you get bored with each other and the magic is gone. You know, many of you all know my story when I started as a writer and an online trainer, totally broke, totally busted, living in my girlfriend's apartment, had nothing. And I had to look at her every day and remind myself, I'm fighting for our future here. Because there were plenty of days I was down on myself, plenty of days I didn't feel like it. It doesn't matter if you feel like it. Look, if you don't feel like it, then it's your job to make yourself feel like it. If you don't feel like it, it's your job to fire yourself up. If you don't feel like it, it's time to sit and think, okay, what is important to me? What really can I connect to and feel in my heart is important for me to go and do? Because you deserve to do something important with your day. But you'll never do it if you keep starting your day in so much distraction and consuming everybody else's will and desires and opinions and judgments. You've got to start that day so anchored to what is important that motivation isn't even an issue the rest of the day. And that's what I do every morning. I'm sitting there and I'm thinking about what is the thing I'm so passionate about right now. And it's not like every day I'm like, yay, here we go. It's like, I got to really think about it. Because, otherwise the tasks, the other activities, the things I'm supposed to do come in, but I gotta go, what am I fighting for real? What's important for me now? Why do I need to deliver with excellence? Well, because you know what? I care about my family and my future. I care about my students. I care about showing my excellence. I care about my art. So here we go. And I get deeply and emotionally connected to what I am doing in the morning right off the bat. That changes everything. So many people want the path to be completely clear now. And you and I were just talking about this. Is like, you have to have faith in the timing of the path. You have to believe that serendipity will appear when it's supposed to appear, that purpose will reveal itself sometimes in one battle and sometimes in another battle, sometimes in this game or this thought or that activity. And, I think people stress way too much about getting clarity.
Why are you so good at relationships? Like, what are a few of the things that make you bond with people as quickly as you do?
I always come back to, there must be an intention there. So where did the intention come from? So the intention for me came from, when I was on my deathbed, and in, 2 times in my life I thought I was going to die. And the one that gave me the greatest gift was the did I love part of did I live, did I love, did I matter? I saw scenes of my life. When I thought I was going to die, I saw scenes of my life when I was surrounded by the people that I loved. And my instant feeling was, I'm going to miss them. And they're going to miss me. and I'm dying, and that's so sad. And that was as important as, did I live my life or did I make a difference? It was like, I'm so sad. And I got that as a 19-year-old kid. Like, a breakup of a relationship sent me into suicide. That realization was like, oh my God, at the end, all you're gonna wonder is about your family and your friends and people you loved, and all they're gonna miss you. So I got early that one of the objectives of this game has to be deep relationships.
The other thing that fascinates me that you've written about high performers is this strive for perfection, where high performers can often be hard on themselves.
Yes.
And I'd love to hear your perspective on this. It's this difference between the pressure that we place on ourselves versus complacency.
Yeah.
Because I think right now we're hearing a bit of both out there on social media and everywhere. And a lot of people are confused. It's like, do I really go hard on myself? And am I really disciplined? And am I really harsh to myself? Or actually, do I just let it go and just let it flow and let it happen? And, I want to hear what your research on the high performers said.
Yeah.
When it came to perfection versus progress.
Yeah, there's no question they're more into progress than perfection. There's no question. There's like zero question that they are working on the things that move the needle in their life. So they're focused on the things that matter most. So they're good at wheeling out distractions. But what I always tell people is like, if you think you're a perfectionist, you're probably lying. And the reason that is, and that people hate when I say that, but if you look it up in the book, in the dictionary, it's like perfection. Like if you actually look up perfection or to perfect, it comes from that root word, to perfect. To perfect does not mean it's done. To perfect means two things happen in that connotation of to perfect. First, it has to be an iteration or a start. It has to be done in like first draft. To perfect it means take it from being done, being released, being out there, being where you feel like it's a start, and then to perfect it, to keep working on it, to keep iterating on it. And what perfectionists always say, here's what they really say. Well, I haven't started yet because I'm a perfectionist and I'm only going to do it if I can get it completely right. No, you're lying. There's a difference between perfecting and being fearful.
Yes.
And what most perfectionists are is they're scared. They're scared to start and scared not to get it right. So they don't even begin.
Yeah.
A real perfectionist is so in friggin' motion. They're perfecting, they're beating it up, they're iterating, they're dialing it in, and they are active at it. To perfect requires an active improvement. And most people who say they're perfectionists are actually dead stop fear. My last big idea is people are scared to start their big dreams because they fear their dream won't work out. They think, oh, well, Brendan, what if I do all that work and, on the other side of things, the grass isn't greener. And I went through all that work and I put my heart and I put my soul into it, Brendan. It doesn't work. And how will I feel about myself? And, I have responsibilities to my family or to other people. And I do all the things that doesn't turn out. And they're so scared it's not going to work. And that's why I say, my friend, get yourself a mentor. Get yourself a plan. Get yourself in the proximity of someone who's done it before so they can guide you, so they can cheer you on. Of course, you're gonna fear it's not gonna work out if you can't see where it's gonna go, if you can't see how other people have gotten there. So read their biographies, study their process, read their books, take their courses, engage their material, ask the questions. There's so many, the world is full of mentors that you can access with a direct message now. Use that. Ask the questions. There's seminars, there's live events, there's online courses everywhere available for you. There's a bajillion TED Talks. There's a bajillion biographies. Why aren't you consuming more of those to understand people's emotional journey, to understand their process, to understand the big decisions that they made, to understand their regrets, to understand their lessons? Of course you're scared to start if you haven't seen the illuminated journey of others. But once you see the map they took, once you hear their process, once you learn the mistakes they made, now that emboldens you. Your mind goes, oh, I got a little more clarity here. With more clarity comes more confidence. With more clarity, confidence, momentum, you'll go after that, my dream, my friend. No matter how small you start something that matters.
all I want to do, and what I realized early on from reading personal development books, is your life creates a ripple. And so I'm always trying to realize that maybe I can make somebody smile today, and now when they go home, they're nicer to the kid. That's a real thing. And so I treat people with that recognition, because I don't know if you ever, sometimes when someone treats you bad, it really does mess up the rest of your day. And I had people beat me when I was a kid. I got in fights when I was a kid. I was in martial arts most of my life. So I've just had like super violent things happen in my life. I've had a lot of drama with relationships early in my life. And I'm talking like pre-20s. And I just wanted to be the positive ripple.
High performers, they kind of know the service they want to bring to the world. That's why I was like, Jay's gonna smash this. Because you were so humble, you were like, I've only been doing this X amount of time, Brendan. But you already knew you wanted to make wisdom go viral. And you knew what was true to you. You knew the type of purpose you wanted to make. And you're still seeking that out and clarifying like we all are. But high performers know the service they want to give to the world. Mm-hmm. And they don't know it exactly or perfectly, but they're intentionally moving towards that. And so for those who are like, I don't know if I have clarity, I'm like, okay, get clarity about yourself a little more, about how you want to treat people and be with people, about what you need to develop and how you want to give or serve. And if you focus on that, like every day, every week, you're conscious of those 4 things, one day you're just so much more confident and clear.
You need to learn versus judge when it comes to your behaviors and your results in life. So here's what I'd love you to do. Start a Sunday review. And every Sunday, all I want you to do is sit down and really evaluate how you showed up this last week. I mean, how did you really show up Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday? What situations did you do good in? What situations could you have done better in? What did you learn about yourself? And use that review session not to beat yourself up, not to say, I wish I woulda, coulda, not to be mad at yourself, not to stir self-talk that's filled with self-hatred, but rather to say, okay, what did I really learn about who I am and what I prefer in life? What did I really learn about what I like? What did I learn about the best of me? And what did I learn about the go through the motions me? Where did I feel down? Where did I feel confident? And start experimenting with how you view yourself by better doing a job of reviewing your week. I think one reason people don't have as confident like mentality as they should is because they're just barreling through week after week after week after week, kind of blind and dumb to how far they've grown. But if you can, instead of judging yourself and like, I sucked yesterday, you can like every week have a real self-evaluation session. How did I do? What did I learn? And in that personal development where you can look at yourself objectively, without judging, without being mad, without giving it negative labels, and just go, how did I do? What did I learn? What could I have done better? Oh, I could have done this. And just kind of observe how you're going through your life. And then tell yourself, okay, next time I'll do this. And next time I'll do this. And next time I'll do that. That's a learning mentality versus a judgment mentality. A judgment mentality was, I was an idiot. I was stupid. I didn't like myself. I look stupid. People are gonna make fun of me. They're gonna hate me. That judgment self-talk is why you have so little self-confidence. Because most people spend most of their time criticizing themselves. Their self-talk is so negative instead of learning oriented. And as soon as you switch from like a negative standpoint to a learning standpoint, disappointment goes away, embarrassment goes away, self-hatred goes away, and you start just learning your way into the new and strongest you. I avoid distractions completely. I mean, I literally avoid almost all distractions. Even if I'm gonna go do email isn't something I check into once in a while throughout the day. I'm not standing in line checking into Instagram once in a while. That's not what I'm doing. If I'm going to do social media, there's a time that I've blocked. That's when social media is gonna happen. If I'm gonna do email, I've blocked that time, that's when that's gonna happen. Otherwise, I'm focusing on the major activities that are moving my life forward. One reason people lack motivation is because they lack momentum toward the things that they matter. It's not that they're not getting things done. I mean, you look at them, they got plenty of busy work in their life, you know? Look at all the busy work they got. They're actually accomplishing a ton of things. They're doing a ton of things. They looked at 500 posts today, answered 100 emails, kicked out 50 slides, created 20 things, had 10 phone calls. They're busy, but often they're busy doing work that means nothing to them. They're busy reacting not creating. And so they're losing that sense of momentum overall towards things that are fulfilling to them. And because they're losing that, now they get even more bogged down in distraction because they don't feel good. I don't feel like I'm getting momentum in my life. I feel sad. I'm not doing anything with my life, so let me check in what everybody else is doing in their life on Instagram right now. I'm here to tell you, if you want motivation in your life, get momentum again.
Because you made it this far in a video, I want to celebrate you. Most people start and don't finish. Most people never actually follow through. Most people say they want something, but they don't ever do the work to actually get it. But you are different. You are special. Believe Nation, you made it here all the way to the end, and I love you. So as a special celebration, if you put a hashtag Believe down in the comments below on this video, I will showcase you and celebrate you somewhere on the screen in a future video because you are awesome. If you want 10 more amazing rules from Brendon Burchard, check the video right there next to me. I think you'll love it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
You're more likely to do something if you have already prepared and stepped it through. You're already more likely to do something if you already prepared